Well, thank everybody for jumping on today. This is BJ Murphy, your host of the BJ Murphy 360 podcast. And today I want to talk a little bit about what happened to me last year. I was serving in my 8th year as mayor of my hometown in Kinston, North Carolina. And I lost. I lost a race that many people thought I would win. And I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. And I want to kind of go into what I've done since then. I mean, how do you bounce back from a loss when everybody was expecting you to win? And kind of the mindset that helped me get there. And so maybe there's something I will share today that will help somebody out there. So I just want to kind of lay it out and see where it goes. So thank you so much for listening. So again, thank everybody for jumping on today. So last year, for the past, since 2009, December 7th, 2009, I was sworn into office as mayor of the city of Kinston. I was the youngest person who had ever served, and at the time, I was the youngest in the entire state of North Carolina. And maybe one day we'll talk about why I decided to run and all those kind of things. But bottom line is, I won. I only won by 51 votes. Although when I ran the next time, I won by 300-400 votes. I can't remember exactly, but solidified that I was the right guy at the right time for our community. And so by the time this past year rolled around, I made it pretty clear that I was running for office and that I thought I had more to give to the community. Truthfully, it cost me a lot and cost my family a lot, certainly in terms of time, because I probably gave up on average 15 to 20 hours a week to serve the city. During campaign season, it was more than 30 hours a week. But besides that, it really cost us financially because I didn't come from a wealthy family. My father is a retired breadman. He ran a bread route for many years. My adopted mother, she she retired from working in children's clothing in a retail environment. So we didn't grow up. In my family, I was the first one to get a 4-year degree. And my sister, who's a year behind me, got her 5-year MBA immediately after that. And then it's been interesting to see my upbringing and some of the things that happened. But I was still able through life, through some great mentors and great experiences in some of the right philosophies, and certainly my faith helped guide and shape me into the man I am today. So by the time I was not managing the city, but leading the city, we had a lot of great things happening. And by the time I left office, one of the biggest things I would tell people that excited me about where Kinston is that we went from a town where people used to say, "You're from Kinston?" kind of like with a question mark, to the time that I left office, people said, "Oh, you're from Kinston," with an exclamation point. And so we did a lot of great things. And I always felt like my biggest goal was to leave it better, and I found it, and I believe we accomplished that. And so I was really excited about that. But a loss is a loss. I mean, most people in the community thought I would win, and I didn't. And congrats to the other gentleman. But what I want to kind of talk about today is, well, what did I do next? Because so many people thought I would win, they just thought things would just continue to go on as they were. And certainly that changed a lot. I remember this was a Tuesday night, the election. I got a call from 2 different governors, the current one and the former one that week, and calls from several friends and family members, and text and Facebook messages just kind of blew up. So that Wednesday, I kind of just took a chill day. That Thursday was kind of in the office thinking about what was going on my calendar. So Thursday and Friday, I started looking at my calendar, and I went, okay, I'm deleting this. I don't have to be on that committee anymore. I'm not going to this meeting. And I mean, it was just kind of this surreal, wow, I have given up a lot of time when I start looking at my calendar, start deleting events that I had expected to go to, and thinking about how in the new year the number of meetings and things and committees and initiatives that start, and I didn't have to do any of those anymore. And so I immediately started turning my attention to, okay, well, where's my business? Because I started my company, Magic Mile Media, a little over a year ago. And it was right after Hurricane Matthew. I got this idea that small business owners and have Facebook pages, but they're just not really engaged with it. And I knew a lot about social media, and I was a practitioner, something I've been doing for a long time. And so how do I merge the two? So I created Magic Mile Media, landed a few clients, thankfully, and worked with them, but hit cruise control with the campaign. I mean, I didn't seek any new clients while I was campaigning, because I had enough to with the time I was giving up, I had enough to make sure they were getting the service I told them I would do, plus more. I'm a big believer in doing more than you say you would do. So I've always done more than what my proposals or what was agreed upon, what they said, what they were written out. And so what did I do next? Well, the first thing, because a lot of people were going, well, BJ, what do you do? Because I never really promoted the fact of what I was doing. Not a lot. I did a little bit, not extensively. And so, I mean, one of the first things I did when I started thinking about my business and my time was, okay, so I don't have any prospects right now because I haven't really been prospecting for a while. So the first thing I need to do is to start talking about that. So the one of the first things I did was really just say, hey, look, I did a Facebook Live. I came out and I said, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus head over heels with this concept of Magic Mile Media, helping small business and personal brands grow in the social media marketplace that we have now. And that was what I was going to focus on. So just by saying that and letting everybody know what I was going to focus on, it really helped me a lot. I mean, my whiteboard has got my prospects on it. I went from 0 4 months ago to on this board right now, potential business partners, prospects I'm just glancing at it, 15 to 20 right there. And I have submitted 5 proposals in the past 3 weeks. I've got to work on a couple more right here on my desk that I'm hoping to have out by the end of this weekend. So I've got 2 more proposals going out. I've actually got a conference call this afternoon with a potential client. And so I'm busy just letting people know what I'm doing. And in the scope of that, because of the niche, because of the expertise, because of the credibility in the market, I guess, I'm getting the opportunity to do business now. I'm certainly not expecting to land all 5 of those clients. I mean, I'll be lucky if I get 1. I understand sales. I've done employee benefit, B2B sales for the vast majority of my career since 2004. So for 13 years, I think that's right. That's all I did, and so I've done that a long time. So some other things. The first thing I did was I just built up my prospect list. I lost. What do I do? The very first thing I did was, okay, I need to have more prospects in the pipeline. So I developed a prospect list, and I'm making notes on them. I'm keeping up with them. And then the second thing I did was I started a podcast. And you go, well, why in the world did you start a podcast? And it really was simple. Is that although this entire podcast could be on politics. I mean, between my connections across the state and some federal connections and what I understand about local government, that I could do a podcast just on that. But I decided I would branch out and do more than just that. There will be a podcast or 2, or may incorporate into the theme occasionally of talking about politics. But I wanted to start off with, okay, I need to let everybody know I do know quite a bit about social media, and so I decided that maybe a podcast was the best way to go. And so that's kind of what I started doing, was getting that information out there, the content out there that maybe somebody, and it may be 10, it may be 100, it may be 5,000, it may be 100,000 people that listen to this over time. But the bottom line for me was it was an outlet for me to let people know what's going on, to give practical advice and tips on things that are happening in the market. And maybe through time, if I help more people than I receive in return, then I feel like I've still had that outlet of giving more than I received, something I have lived with my entire career. So that was the second thing I did, was I started a podcast. The third thing was that I started doing here in the last week or so is I'm starting to take the podcast that I'm doing, and I'm working with a partner to help turn these podcasts into blogs. So it is content that I'm putting out as my ideas, my thoughts. But I also I know that some people like to read and you flip through on your phone, or you go to medium.com, or you're on LinkedIn, or you're on Facebook, or you're on Twitter, your website, and you start thinking of all these different avenues to get content out. I decided, well, maybe instead of just the podcast, I would take the content from the podcast and actually do a blog. And so that is something I'm working on really closely right now. In fact, I just published a blog this morning based on a podcast I did the other day. So I'm turning my podcast into a blog. That was number 3. The fourth thing that I'm doing is based on some reading the tea leaves and what's happening with Facebook and algorithm over the last 3 or 4 or 5 months. And then especially with this announcement over the past couple of weeks, that I started a Facebook group called Social Media Masterminds. And I did that because I want to help moderate and help encourage this discussion around social media and what's happening. I believe that the members of the group get a lot of value because I'm somebody who's doing it every day. So not all the members of the group do it every day. They might be part-time home business owners, network marketers. They might be small business entrepreneurs, but they're just not doing it a lot. So maybe some of the conversations that I help start or other people start in the comments will help us all get better in the process. But it also does something for me too, in that it helps me get a better understanding of what the market is saying and thinking, some like-minded entrepreneurs, and it will give me some content for podcasts and some other blogs. And I'm going to get better. My sword will sharpen over time, and those people will get better. So it is a win-win. It takes up time for me to help moderate and guide it. But I think the closed Facebook group, Social Media Masterminds, will do a lot of good for the marketplace. So I'm excited about that. And the fifth thing that I started, it kind of became something. It's happened twice now, and it's going to get on a monthly recurring theme. Is I've got a friend of mine who is a like-minded entrepreneur, and we have lunch once a month. We did it just ourselves the first 2 times. I've invited somebody else for this next one, and we just call it the Masterminds Lunch. And we talk about small business, entrepreneurship, Facebook, social media, Instagram, those kind of things. And we just kind of talk about what's happening. And it's just a good hour 20 or so lunch where we just kind of dive into what's happening. And I really am enjoying that conversation. Last thing I want to mention to you is, as a father, the loss I had in my political race also gave me an incredible opportunity to share with my kids that losing is okay, and that you can become better because of it. And so my oldest daughter actually went with me to the night that I gave up or relinquished the gavel, so to speak, and we both witnessed the next mayor come into office. And that was a tough thing for me to go through, but I had accepted it. But it was interesting to have my oldest daughter there to experience that with me, so that she can see the value in, hey, that the democracy works, our republic is great, and that it's okay to lose. Even my dad lost. And hopefully that small lesson will serve her well in life. Maybe something I said here today, sparks some emotion in you or helps you out. Please call into the anchor.fm station to let me know. Shoot me an email, bj@magicmilemedia.com. I'd love to have this conversation more. Make a comment. But regardless, I hope this helps you, and this was to your success.